So hindi po totoo, Senador Go, na pinapatagal ko po itong mga pagpasa nitong mga batas na ito. Dahil maliwanag na Enero pa lang ay nasa committee na ng health kung saan kayo po ang chairman. At doon po tumagal ang panukalang batas.
Nasa pandemya po tayo, Mr. President, at ayaw po natin may masayang na oras. And I know you have a good heart to help our fellow Filipinos.
Po ang tanong ko, sinabi niyo talaga and pointing to me, you said that you pretend to support these bills, but in fact you do not. And you're saying, pinapatagal ko ang pagpasa nitong mga panukalang batas. Hindi po totoo yan, hindi po ba?
Now I am convinced, Mr. President, that you are willing to help these measures to be passed, Mr. President.
However, there is a recent case which prompts us to spread into the record certain policy issues that we have to decide because of the precedent that it will set. And I'm particularly referring to the case of Governor Mandanas versus Secretary Ochoa. For the record, can the good sponsors spread into the record what is the Mandanas ruling for purposes of establishing the basis of our debates?
Minute suspension, Mr. President.
Session suspended.
On the Mandanas case, which updated the base computation for the LGU's share from the national internal revenue taxes to national taxes. However, it is still unsure whether the local governments will prioritize health or if they will shift spending to less costly LGU priorities. And the DOF estimates that the ERA of the LGUs will increase by 233 billion or about 27.61 more in 2020 that could address the mismatch between the ERA and the cost of the world functions. Following the Supreme Court ruling on the Mandanas case, as far as I can remember, it was in 2019, it was agreed by the executive that after 3 years upon the finality of the decision, it will be implemented by 2022.
Okay. So I'm sorry, did I hear the amount, sir, to be 233 billion? Because yesterday I recall a different amount of 260 also. What is the final figure, Mr. President?
It was updated only by DBM today. We checked with the DBM.
Okay. So how much is the final figure?
234 billion, Mr. President.
234 billion now. And the increase in the ERA is a result of, as you said, Mr. President, of expanding the base of the computation. Is that correct?
Correct, Mr. President.
Yes. And how was it expanded?
Minute suspension. It was ready to resume, Mr. President.
Yes, go ahead, go ahead.
The Supreme Court ruled that the just share of LGUs from the national taxes is not limited to national internal revenue taxes collected by the Bureau of Internal Revenue, but includes collections, customs duties by the Bureau of Customs. Before the Mandanas ruling, 40% ERA national. After the Mandanas ruling, 40% and 60%.
I'm sorry, sir, I did not catch the answer. The answer is the Supreme Court expanded the base of the computation of the ERA to include customs duties. Is that the answer, sir?
Correct, Mr. President.
Now, can Congress, in exercise of its plenary powers, change the computation?
No, of course not. The
Because
Constitution says no.
this computation is found in the local government's code.
Oh, 1 minute suspension, Mr. President.
Session suspended.
Manifestation that next time we're going to approve the increase in beds of hospitals, that we indicate whether the hospital is an LGU operated hospital or a DOH operated hospital. So we will know what we are doing kasi parang may confusion na ngayon eh. Kasi before, my knowledge, if you are a DOH operated hospital, you remain a DOH operated hospital. And if you are an LGU, what is the definition ba? Kasi hindi malinaw to mga ospital na to kung DOH to or LGU to or what not. Kasi yung district hospital ba ho, LGU operated yan or national DOH operated? We should clarify kasi so we will know what we are doing. Yes, Senator Pia would like to answer, I think, Senate President.
While we're waiting for the answer of Senator Go, Senator Pia Cayetano is recognized.
Actually, I don't have an answer. I actually will include in the discussion because I left Senate last night when I nagpaalam ako kay Senate President. And then I was monitoring the discussion and I took note of Senator Villar's concern about the National Hospital. I chaired the Committee on Health for almost 10 years and binabantayan ko talaga yung local na maging national. I agree with Senator Villar's observation na hindi basta-basta nangyayari yun. Kasi even without the Mandanas ruling, you're not supposed to renationalize or nationalize a hospital because it's technically health is a devolved function. So I share the concern. So when I went to my staff and I said, bakit hindi ko to nakita? I'll point out also to the body that the title, although of course it is our obligation to look at it, but I myself was misled by the title because the title refers to an increase in bed capacity. Tapos nandun lang sa body ng bill yung nationalization. So medyo malaking issue yun na parang it appears to be a bed capacity issue only, but there's also a nationalization issue. And then dun sa isa naman, changing the status to a regional hospital, I also assumed that it was already a DOH hospital that was just going to be expanded. Yung pala, local hospital siya. So I agree with Senator Villar na it's a bit confusing talaga kung hindi mo tatawagan si DOH at alamin mo kung ano to. Baka hindi natin talaga malaman. So maybe that's something we can consider to make it easy for everyone to follow what's going on.
Yeah, I think we should include that in the title na kung i-convert into national, sabihin doon sa title para alam natin. And if it is a local hospital, alam natin na local hospital. Kasi it's a bit confusing. Yun din ang akala ko na pag ikaw ay local, hindi ka na pwedeng mag-national. And ang national, definitely they won't make it a local hospital. So na-confuse ako ngayon na meron palang bumabalik na national from local. Oo, na hindi natin alam. It's just ang increase in bed capacity ang alam natin. It's just to clarify. I'm not against it, but we should know when we're passing the law what it is, di ba? We should not be confused. Yun lang. That's why while we're waiting for the answer, I thought that we should discuss this because this is a policy issue. And I think when we are, kasi para sa atin, automatic increase in bed lang. Yung pala, nagbabago na yung status ng hospital. It will transfer from the local to DOH. At least we should know. Hindi naman masama yon, but we should know what we're doing, di ba?
Exactly, Mr. President, if I'll add, that's exactly the same sentiments. We should know what we're getting into or what we're passing, because when we allow the national issue to take over, that really changes the whole policy. It's a policy issue. So in fairness naman sa ating sponsor, kasi if you recall, I made the manifestation, Majority Floor Leader, when we started this. And yung manifestation ko is, I just want to be sure that all the requirements of DOH are met. So I'm told that those requirements were met. So I now question the policy of DOH na, bakit kayo pumapayag? Kasi the policy is, I looked at it, basta may resolution ang local na gusto na nilang ibigay, kasama na yan sa requirements na pwede na. Ganun na lang ba yun? So pag umayaw na lang ang local, they can shirk their responsibility and turn their back and say, national, take over na kayo. Ayaw na namin mag-handle ng ano. So, I'm a little confused with DOH kung ano talagang policy nila.
And yet this is a devolved function. Therefore, there's no discretion.
Now, I also don't know on its face if these are primary, secondary, or tertiary, because technically devolved ang primary. So, you know, again, we need to know what we're dealing with so that we can ask the right questions, di ba? We can then proceed on helping shape that policy. Kasi otherwise, we can't. I don't even know where to begin.
It's confusing. I thought it's just increase in bed. There is no change in status. But now, it seems that there are many changes in status and we don't even know. Dapat at least sabihin man lang do sa title na they're changing it from a local hospital to a national hospital.
Mr. President.
Yes, Senator Tiberos.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to add to the discussion, tingin ko rin po in considering this bill and the other bills like it at yung mga points na ni-raise na ng mga colleagues natin, we have to consider the bill in the context of the universal healthcare law. Kasi kaya nga natin din ipinasa iyan was precisely para kilutin yung unintended fragmentation of the health system dulot ng implementation ng local government code, particularly yung devolution ng health functions. Kasi doon na rin po sa UHC law nakalagay yung service delivery network, yung buong sistema ng mga, yung sinasabi ni Sen Pia, halimbawa, primary, secondary, tertiary, hospitals and other facilities, kung nasa saan yung management ng Department of Health dyan, outside of which, LGUs na talaga, and how all of these should complement each other. So, yun lang po yung gusto kong idagdag, Mr. Chair, na actually yung parang Magna Carta of all this is really the UHC law and which demands and can provide us the answers to the issues being raised by our colleagues. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. So, Senator Go, are you ready to respond? That's it. Anything else, Senator Villar or Senator Cayetano? Go ahead.
I'm just feeling in the space, so feel free to cut me off. Ayaw nyo na makinig yung boses ko. Pero, you know, I'm just trying to make this discussion interesting. So, under the bills, I'm not...
Mr. President, can you suspend the session so that we can discuss freely?
Yeah.
Right.
Practically.
The session is suspended.
Do I understand from the manifestation of the good sponsor that we will table the deliberation insofar as Lanao del Norte Provincial Hospital and Benguet General Hospital?
Yes, yes, Mr. President.
Yes.
Just to hoping that the three remaining bills, 13 remaining bills could pass swiftly.
Ano
Okay,
yung
thank you.
Lanao and Benguet? Number 10 and 11. All right.
Yes. Now, Mr. President, my question before the break was, can we amend the Mandanas ruling and just limit the era to internal revenue taxes under collected by the BIR?
No, Mr. President.
Why not, Mr. President? Can we spread into the record why not? Why we cannot?
The Mandanas ruling only clarified from what sources the era of LGUs can be taken. These sources are all the national internal revenue taxes, including the tariff and customs duties. Yeah.
I'll be more specific, Mr. President. Can Congress enact a law saying that customs duties are excluded from the computation of the era?
No, Mr. President.
And may we know why we cannot do that, sir?
Under the Constitution, Mr. President, it says all taxes, Mr. President. Which was clarified
may
by
I
the
have a
Mandanas ruling,
question?
Mr. President.
May I
Sir,
ask a question?
With the permission of the Senator Go and Senator Rilon, Senator Villar, you're recognized.
I just want to ask the question, Mr. Senate President, that if we include the tariff, for example, the rice tariffication law comes from the tariff from rice. So if you include that in the Mandanas ruling, where will the rice tariffication law come from? Where will they, we passed the rice tariffication law because we decided that whatever tariff we can collect from rice import, we give to the rice farmer in terms of the Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund. Now, if the Mandanas ruling will get the tariff from rice, where will they get the Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund? That would be very difficult.
A very good question, Mr. President. I have been a lawyer for 50 years. I haven't thought of this question being raised by Senator Cynthia, that indeed the Supreme Court decision says, in effect, customs duties, which is a tariff, is included in the computation. Now, we passed the Rice Tariffication Act in order that we just impose a higher tariff on rice importation instead of a quantitative restriction. Question, are the collections arising from the rice tariffication part of the computation of the era? My answer could be yes, because that is a tariff. And maybe Senator Cayetano and Senator Angara can come in, because this is a question which is obviously something that we must confront, because this will increase the era correspondingly, and correspondingly reduce the benefit to the farmers.
The chef also. Another one, Mr. President, is the ASEF. It's the Agriculture Competitiveness Enhancement Fund. It comes from the tariff of all agricultural products except rice. Patay na tayo. Wala na yun. Those are laws that we passed here for the benefit of agriculture. They're a conflict. Mr. President, that's all. Thank you very much.
Just for clarification, if you don't mind, then this is a question to either the Senator Drilon or the others who are familiar with the scenario. The Mandanas ruling came about because of a petition filed by Governor Mandanas, and what stemmed Governor Mandanas to file for a Supreme Court ruling?
Yes, Governor Mandanas filed this case, and Senator Coco can help me here. Governor Mandanas to file this case against Secretary Ochoa as the nominal party, because the computation of the era is based on the taxes collected by the BIR. And according to Governor Mandanas, that is not allowed, because the computation should be based on the monies collected by the customs, by the Bureau of Customs. So that is why the point raised by Senator Villar and the point you are now raising is very valid concerns. In fact, at this point, Mr. President, I do not know whether the 234 billion mentioned by the good sponsor as what is due.
Bakit niya nasabi yun?
What is due for the era in 2020 next year already takes into account the tariff, the rice tariffication, and the ASEF. But for the rice tariffication, baka hindi pa because that was passed just last year. Because the basis of the era is the income tax collection 3 years ago. 3 years ago, we did not yet have the rice tariffication fund. But certainly, the agricultural enhancement fund was already there. So question, is that's earmarked for farmers. Now, does that mean that the government can now reduce? So it's really a very difficult issue. I hope that Senator Coco, Senator Cayetano, Senator Sani can put their views because on record, because this is a very difficult issue.
Well,
This could be several billions more.
you're right. If I recall it right, the Governor Mandanas was banking on Section 6 of Article 10 of the Constitution,
Yes.
which reads, local government units shall have a just share as determined by law in the national taxes which shall be automatically
May
released
katapat na
to them.
provision ng LGC which only said internal revenue taxes. And he's,
Teka muna.
sorry,
All right. All right. With that, having said that, banking on this, they asked for a ruling from the Supreme Court saying that the interpretation must be that when we say national taxes, all taxes.
Including
Tama,
customs, including particularly customs collections.
All right, and customs collection. All right. At ang effect ngayon, yung tinatanong nga ni Senator Villar and the rest is baka pati ibang national taxes madamay. All right. But looking back, kaya ako tinatanong I thought it was originally in the local government code, kaya pwede natin galawin Pero it looks like really it's up to the executive to interpret because ang sinasabi ng konstitusyon, local government unit shall have a just share. How do you define just share? Kung sabihin ngayon ng presidente ng Pilipinas, ang just share nyo, 20% lang.
No, sir, yes.
Hindi ba?
Mr. President,
Or as they determined by law. And therefore, tama yung tanong ni Senator Drilon, we may, by law, change it. Hindi ba? That's the reason I asked where yeah, all right. Senator Tolentino is recognized.
The permission of the minority leader and the sponsor, Senator Go, if I may be allowed to interject and perhaps simplify the procedure right now, Mr. President. The impression that I got from Senator Go is that he is willing to let go of 2 bills that would require national government capital infusion. Am I correct in that aspect, sir?
correct, Mr. President.
And the remaining 13 measures would not require budgetary infusions coming from the national government. Is that a correct?
Correct, but some are DOH hospitals, Mr. President, increasing the bed
Yes.
capacity.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. President, it does because because the increase in the bed capacity and the capital outlay must come from the national government, not from the era.
That's why I'm asking, with due respect, minority leader.
That's the
what
answer,
I'm
sir. Your
asking
answer to
the
your question. That's what the bills say. Capital outlay shall be for the account of the national government.
the impression I got, Mr. President, is the bills of Senator Go are meant to address the shortfalls in funding in anticipation, likewise, of the windfall that would be coming from the Mandanas ruling in the years ahead. Although he mentioned a while ago that the executive department has yet to lay the basis, although there are ongoing studies and discussions on how the pie would be redistributed amongst all the LGUs. So his bills would now be laying the groundwork, Mr. President, in anticipation of the Mandanas ruling, and among others, Mr. President. So the shortfalls are the shortfalls in funding as gleaned from the bills filed by Senator Go are very apparent among 5th and 6th class LGUs. So there is now a need to maintain a high standard, health standards for these poorer municipalities. So he is pushing for the 13 bills. If am I correct in that?
Correct, Mr. President.
So, Mr. President, I think it can be reconciled. It can be reconciled. The issues raised by the minority leader, as well as the intention of the author, can be reconciled in a manner that would provide a higher standard for locally funded LGU hospitals wanting more facilities and personnel, additional hires, so to speak, because as his honor would say, and I quote, there is a health services devolution burnout. So I think if both gentlemen would agree, the measures being proposed by Senator Go would not be contrary to the, I hope I am correct in my interpretation, would not be contrary to the questioning, the line of questioning propounded by the good minority leader, Mr. President.
Please do not interfere with my line of questioning. You should give some respect.
I'm not, with all due respect. That's why I asked the permission of His Honor if I would be allowed to interject.
No, when you question my line of questioning, that is out of line. You should accord me the appropriate respect na naiintindihan ko yung tanong ko.
I mentioned my impression, with all due respect. So,
Yes.
that's all, Mr. President. That's why I just want to clarify.
That is why I am correcting your wrong impression.
I admit if I was wrong in my impression, but
Hanap ng pondo from Bayanihan 1 to Bayanihan 2. Now they're proposing Bayanihan 3. And in fact, naghahanap po ng pondo ang executive to add modular hospitals. Gawa tayo rito ng gawa, 45 days para po hindi bumagsak yung healthcare system natin. Kita nyo, kahit saan na lang po yung mga kababayan natin naghihingalo. Ang ayaw natin mangyari, maghihingalo po yung mga kababayan natin na wala na pong mapuntahan. Nasa pandemya po tayo, Mr. President. Iba po ang kaso natin ngayon. Darating naman po siguro yung panahon na pwedeng pag-usapan natin yung, pagdidebatehan natin yung share ng IRA, ng NATA. Pero ito, habulan po tayo ng buhay po ng bawat Pilipino na nakataya dito, Mr. President. Andiyan na po yung bills na aprobado na po ng lower house. Nasa kamay na po natin dito sa Senado. Nasa pandemya po tayo. Bawat araw na merong namamatay, buhay rin po yun ng Pilipino. Apparently, Mr. President, sorry to tell you, you're pretending that you are not against, but really you are against. In this crucial time, we need these facilities, we need these upgrades. The local government units are asking for assistance because they cannot take on these burdens. Paikot-ikot lang po usapan dito, Mr. President. Di naman po siguro, alam naman po ng Pilipino yan na paikot-ikot lang tayo dito. Sinasadya lang po nating patagalin. Ibang usapan po ito ngayon, Mr. President. Dapat po tayong magkaisa dito sa kapakanan po ng Pilipino. Pinasa na po ito ng lower house. Hanap tayo ng modular hospital. Ito po, pwede na tayong gumawa ng hospital. Papasado na po sa lower house. 3 hospital. Senate President pa naman po. Neptali Gonzales Hospital. Bakit pa natin patagalin? Eastern Pangasinan Hospital, napakalayo po ng Dagupan. Sino po bang LGUs who is willing to take the cudgels right now? Nasasaluin po nila itong budget na ito. Tayo po dito sa national, tayo po yung mambabatas na mag-approve po ng budget nito. Bakit pa natin ipagkakait, Mr. President? Huwag na po natin ipagkait sa Pilipino kung ano pong para sa kanila ngayon. Kawawa po. Ako mismo, bumababa po ako. Alam ko po yung sitwasyon.
That is why if Malacanang is able to use the unutilized budget for intelligence funds to purchase a helicopter, with more reason that we should use the unutilized funds to expand our hospital system, because we are in a pandemic. We did an initial analysis of the figures, and there is room to carve out from the MPGF to fund the proposed hospital bills. That is my submission, Mr. President, and in the period of amendment, I am prepared to amend and assign specific amounts to these hospitals so that it becomes a funded mandate. The people can look at this as not only for political purposes, but as real help. And I would repeat, we can fund them from the bank of Malacanang, which is the MPBF and the PGF, which are only realigned for intelligence funds and to buy military or police helicopters. That is our submission, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Majority Leader,
Mr.
perhaps we could, as suggested, we can go into the period of amendments.
Mr. President,
Yes, Senator Go.
alam po, konti lang po ito, Mr. President. Kung ano pong makakatulong, Mr. President, Senate Minority Leader, Sir Frank Drilon, we welcome it. As I have said, priority po natin ang funding sa health. We are willing to accept the good senators' suggestions po, no? Just want to explain po about yung pinatulog po. Hindi po natin pinapatulog po ito. Dahil for example po, LGU resolution for Rosario District Hospital was issued just 2 weeks ago. Before filing the committee report, we also consulted with the authors of the bill, with the DOH, with the DBM, and required the authors of the bills to submit the required documents for the House bills. For example po, LGU resolution, napakatagal pong magbigay nito, at alam naman natin na dapat bago natin dalahin dito sa floor ay kompleto na po ang itong mga requirements. And also, Mr. President, the Senate had to adapt as well as to the new normal. A lot of our employees here in the Senate tested positive for COVID. We had to implement lockdowns here. So many factors contributed to the time it took to report these bills to plenary. And also, Mr. President, last year, we also focused on COVID-19 bills, like establishing mandatory quarantine facilities, medical reserve corps, and others. Also, Mr. President, and at ayaw rin nating magpasa, pumunta rito sa plenary na marami pa pong mga requirements na hindi pa po nasumite ang iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno. At ulitin ko lang po, Mr. President, kay Bonggo po, walang tulog po ang serbisyo. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, can I ask a question?
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, can I ask a question?
Majority Leader, yes, go ahead.
So hindi po totoo, Senator Go, na pinapatagal ko po itong mga pagpasal, itong mga batas na ito. Dahil maliwanag na Enero pa lang ay nasa committee na ng health kung saan kayo po ang chairman. At doon po tumagal ang panukalang batas.
Sinabi ko po kanina, Mr. President, that the minority leader and I and all of us just want to help our country. Sa gitna po tayo ng
May tanong
pandemya.
po ako. May tanong po akong specific. Sinabi niyo po nung nakaraang ayaw ko na po sana buksan ito. Ngunit kayo po, mahaba ang manifestation niyo. In effect, sinisisi niyo pa rin tayo. Sinabi niyo po nung nakaraang sesyon na bakit ko pa pinapatagal itong pagpasan itong mga panukalang batas. Napakita natin na sa record ay hindi po totoo yan. Dahil lang po natenga at doon nagpending sa komite, may isang taon po itong mga bills na ito bago po dalhin sa plenaryo.
Nasa pandemya po tayo, Mr. President, at ayaw po natin may masayang na oras. And I know you have a good heart to help our fellow Filipinos, Mr. President. Maraming
Simple
salamat
po ang tanong ko. Hindi totoo sa Senator Go na dinilay ko ito, na pinapatagal ko ito mga bills na ito.
I'm referring po dun sa ating 4 na oras na pagdedebate, Mr. President.
Sinabi niyo talaga, and pointing to me, you said that you pretend to support these bills, but in fact you do not. And you're saying, pinapatagal ko ang pagpasa nitong mga panukalang batas. Hindi po totoo yan, hindi po ba?
Now I am convinced, Mr. President, that you are willing to help these measures to be passed, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President.
Gentlemen,
Okay, so reaction tayo. Okay, so my reaction is this. Napansin ko first dun sa kabuuan, napansin ko yung behavior nito ni Senator Bonggo, the way he presented the bill, yung tumagal, tapos ibinibintang niya sa kanyang kalaban. Alam naman niya sa sarili niya na ito pong panukalang batas na ito nga ay nagmula na sa Kongreso. Ngayon, ibig sabihin, kung pumasa na ito at ito ay naging isang resolution na, no? Coming from the Senate, coming from House of Representatives, ito yung kinakailangan na lang ng version ng Senado, no? Para magtugma ito and then maipasa nila and then to be submitted for the final approval of the President, President Duterte. Ngayon, ang problema ito, sinasabi niya na si Drilon daw, hindi sa pinagtatanggol ko si Franklin Drilon. Kaya lang, just to be fair, no, komentarista tayo, so we have to be fair. Siya may cause ng delay. And for me, aprobado na to, ulitin ko lang. Aprobado na to ng Kongreso, bakit nangailangan ka pa, o humingi ka pa, most probably, ng mga iba-ibang dokumento like the resolution that you mentioned, di ba? Para tumagal, just simply to justify your claim na trinabaho ninyo. Pero imagine, you said that this is urgent, nakikipaghabulan tayo, agaw buhay, mga ganun-ganun. But how come, di ba, ang Kongreso minadali, no? O sabihin natin talagang trinabaho rin nila yan. Kasi kapag tinanggihan ng Senado, patay ang panukalang batas nila. Sayang ang pagod. So trinabaho nila yan, aprobado, kompletos, recados. Bakit pagdating sa iyo, pinatagal mo ng 15 months? So evidently, kasi January 2020, hindi na ganun katindi yung problema natin sa COVID. And yet, we're getting warning, di ba, globally, na sa possibility ng iba-ibang mga variant na baka mag-cause ng spike ng COVID. And then kakailanganin natin ang mga additional hospitals or yung mga bed capacity ng mga hospital. Pero bakit masyado mo itong pinatagal? Tumatiming ka, di ba? tumatiming ka na lumapit sa araw ng mag-e-eleksyon or malapit-lapit sa filing ng COC just simply to make you appear to us na bida ka. And it so happened, record shows you're not. You're the one who caused the delay. Now, let's say, for every day na merong delay, merong isang taong mamamatay. Let's count. 100, how many hundreds died? Diba? How many people died? Starting from January 2020 na napunta sa sala mo yan. Tapos, ang tagal bago ninyo tinapos yung kung ano nung dapat yung gawin dyan, like the technical aspects, bago nyo sinubmit yung report, yung committee report sa plenary, and then you just scheduled last May 17. And then, after the scheduling on May 17, hindi mo pa rin kabisado ang iyong panukalang batas. The title is even confusing, di ba? And some of the lady senators, they were confused kasi they thought that this is just simply additional bedding capacity na yun naman ay nanggagaling talaga sa national government. Diba? Tulong sa mga local hospitals. And yet, sa katawan ng iyong panukalang batas, abay magbabago pala ang status ng isang local hospital. So from local, going to the national. Kasi kapag hindi na raw kinaya. Diba? And then you were asked about the funding sources. That's why nagkaroon kayo ng usapan regarding the Mandanas case, or Mandanas ruling, hindi mo rin kabisado. And it is very, very evident, no, dahil wala ka talagang inilaan na ideya diyan or suggestion saan kukuha ng pondo. So anong klaseng panukalang batas yan? 'Di ba? Blanco. Ang lagay ang maghahanap pa ng pondo o nang magsasuggest ng pondo ay yung mga kasama mo. Ikaw ang proponent, ikaw ang bida pag pumasayan. 'Di ba? Sa iyo ang kredito, pero ibang tao trumabaho. Look what happened. 'Di ba? You just simply accepted Senator Drilon, itong tulog-tulog na baboy ramo ng Senado, suggestions na yung pondo na binanggit niya nga na unspent budget, na kung ilang billion yan, dalawa, ni-realign na nga rin ng government, if I'm correct, if I heard it correctly, ni-realign na rin ng government to buy some helicopters, gano'n, for intelligence fund. Diba? Sabi niya, which is not necessarily because nasa pandemic tayo. But I beg to disagree with Senator Franklin Drilon. Hindi dapat pakialaman kung ano yung para sa intelligence because that involves our security. Pero bakit ganon-ganon mo lang tinanggap? So obviously, you don't really care. The purpose of filing this bill is not for the people. The purpose of this is to attack the opposition. Diba? I am a DDS. I'm a BBM supporter. And I am pro-Filipino. I'm a pro-Philippines. Diba? So I just have to be in the middle of this. Walang biases kung kani-kanino. Pero, again, hindi kita pwedeng suportahan dyan because I smell something fishy on your end. Alright, sorry sa mga sumusuporta kay Senator Bonggo. But I appeal to all of you. Pakinggan nyo, pag-aralan nyo, diskarte niya. Hindi ko mo nakadikit sa ating presidente. Hindi laging nakabuntot. Kasing husay na ng presidente. Hindi totoo na yung galing ng presidente nalipat sa kanya. Even though the president said that, it's just only a joke. Right? Kaya nga binanggit niya na ng maaga that Bonggo wished to become president. It was just simply a trap for other politicians behind him or surrounding him, including Senator Bonggo. Alright? So pag-aralan nyo pong maigi yan. Don't get me wrong. Okay? Para sa kapakanan ng ating bayan to. Kampi-kampi tayo.